our mind believes that in order to heal or in order to advance, in order to be happy and peaceful, we gotta work on the body, have a healthy body, healthy mind, and then go to spiritual, right? It's
Mhm.
actually the other way around. Have you heard or know people around you who was diagnosed with cancer, which is a heavily unwanted life experience, but then they end up having a huge breakthrough and become the most peaceful and happy person that you know, and then their cancer disappears? You have heard stories, real
Absolutely.
stories, right? So it's actually the other way around. Spiritual healing equals energy healing comes first.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of The Wealth Within Us. I am Michelle Blaze, and today I am super happy to have with me Olivia Gong, and she is a spiritual healer. So, what does that mean? Well, Olivia is going to share with us, and I believe it starts with trauma and how we can all heal the trauma within us. And I think collectively as a whole, I think all of us are going through some kind of a trauma that we're ready to release so we can move on to the next stage of what I believe is world evolution, awakening, or what I like to call remembering. So thank you so much, Olivia, for being here and sharing your time with me. I'd like you to just, how did you get started in this so important field?
Well, before I share my story, I want to thank you, Michelle, because I know it takes a lot of time and energy from you. And I really want to thank you for sharing the light, sharing other people's perspective. And I watched some of your past videos. You're such an amazing interviewer. It's
Thank you.
amazing.
Well, I am super happy that you're here, and I really appreciate that compliment.
Well, it's from my heart. I'm sincere. So, how did I start my journey? I grew up being atheist, somewhat atheist. I always believed there is a higher power, but there was no mentioning of God or any religious coaching. My parents were practical Buddhism. That's what I call. If you know what I mean, is that if they, absolute no judgment. I love my parents to death, but
Of
if they
course.
want something, right? They want to make more money, have more client, close a deal. They would go to the temple and pray for that. There's nothing wrong with that, but that's pretty much all the religious or spiritual background that I had.
So more of
Um,
that self-serving sort of yes.
yeah, exactly. Well, there's nothing wrong with serving yourself.
Absolutely not. In fact, that's how we get by every day, don't we? We have to self-serve in order to feed ourselves and clothe ourselves and have a roof
Yes,
over our heads. So I 100% agree, especially as we are both entrepreneurs.
yes, absolutely. So, what happened was I grew up in a quite dysfunctional family. My dad was not around most of the time, and my mom grew up in a kind of abusive environment. So she really did not know another way. And granted, she was doing her best. I love her. We have a great relationship right now. But as a matter of fact, when I was younger, I never really felt safe at home. And when I was at school, it was even worse. I remember when I was 5, there was this teacher, and she was really mean to me. Um, for some reason, she just deeply disliked me. One day, I was late for school, and she had me stood at the front door. There's a front door and there's a back door in the big classroom. We had like 50 kids classroom. She had me stood at the front door, and she was screaming and yelling at me. And I was only 4 or 5. I was little and she was huge. She looked huge, not in a weight way, but she was tall. And she then took the more screaming she did, the more angry the angrier she got. And then to a point, her rage got so expanded to a point that she took my backpack, which was not zipped up properly, and she threw from the front door to the back door. And my stuff, my notebook, my pens, my pencil just flew out, scattered the classroom. And then she had me pick them up one by one. So I felt so humiliated and embarrassed and sad. and shamed of myself while I was doing all that. And you know how kids are. When the teacher doesn't like you or even bully you, the kids don't play with you. So most of my time at school was that there are girls playing girls' game, pretending to be princesses, boys climbing trees, catching frogs. And I would just stood there. I stood there all by myself, nobody to play with. And can you imagine the emotion that
Oh my
was?
gosh. Yeah. And I 100% agree. My daughter had a fifth grade teacher that was definitely a bully. And you're right. I never actually, I'm glad you told that story because I actually kind of never even equated that to some of the stuff that my daughter probably felt as well. And especially the part where you said, if the teacher kind of doesn't like you, then the rest of the kids won't because they want to be aligned with the teacher and be on the teacher's good side. Yeah. And this teacher actually was known for having favorites and kind of being a bully. I will add that. But I definitely can imagine how traumatic that must have been and isolating.
Yes, so it was a lot of pain, and that's only a very small story of all the other pain that I went through. And I was suicidal when I was 11. There was bullying at that age, and a lot of other very traumatic things happened. But for some reason, God never gave up on me. And when I was younger, I used to imagine how would it be like living in the United States and talk to people here fluently in English. I barely spoke in English back then when I was doing all the imagining, and they all came true. And then I was fortunate enough, I went from a really broken girl in China to somebody who get to do MBA program in California. And then I was able to finish that. I started my career journey at a publicly listed company at on NASDAQ at the time. And I went from kind of like an assistant role to the vice president of the company, made high six-figure income. So in my old programming, my old self, because I hear a lot of fight and bickering about money,
Mhm.
I thought I should be happy. I should be peaceful. But inside, in this traveling, business class, first class, being interviewed on TV in China, I was still that little girl. I, I, I,
Oh,
I never really felt peaceful. I, I always feel like, oh, what if people really find out who I really am? But the real question is who am I? Really, who am I? So the past me had this so very unhealthy relationship with myself. Later on, I had my first mystical experience in 2020. And that's the first time I felt who I really am.
wow.
That unconditional love frequency just, I was in the back of this room attending an event called Spiritual. And I remember contemplating to myself, does God really exist? And literally, I went to the bathroom, I came back, and God showed me that God exists. And I felt like this divine energy within me. And I start to burst into tears because in those kind of state, you know this. You don't need anyone else to tell you, Michelle, what's going on, what's
No.
happening, what is this? All knowingness. It's like I just knew. And then I
Yeah,
burst
with
into
no
bliss.
rhyme or reason, just that overwhelming knowing.
Exactly. So that moment changed my whole life.
Hmm.
That moment opened up everything. So from that moment on, I was so obsessed in a positive way in in divinity, learning. And then in the following 3 years, 4 years, I probably read about 300 books. I'm still continuing that reading journey. And I got certified in different modalities, this kind of healing class, do hypnotherapy licensing. I did a lot of things. So it's kind of like a journey that I was gathering tools and knowledge into my toolbox for my own workshop, for my own little shop, right? And then I started to apply it on myself and then gradually on other people and learned so much through the journey. So I have learned what's not going to work out and what actually does work after spending over $300,000 on learning and investing and working on hundreds of people. And I want to share this with you, Michelle. The answer is so simple. In all the spiritual laws is very simple. Mm. It only lies to that all the emotions, beliefs, memories exist as energetic forms. It's that simple. But most of us, when we're growing up, we're not fortunate enough to have parents who know how to process those emotions in a healthy way, because they cannot give us what they don't have themselves. So we end up doing three ways. This is taught by Dr. David Hawkins. The first is to repress or suppress. Mm-hmm. Repress happens when it's too overwhelming in the moment. You don't even have the memory. I had a client who was sexually abused at a very young age, and she didn't have the memory. But by connecting with her guardian angel and spiritual guides, we were able to get that healed and released for her. Mm-hmm. Most of the time is suppressed. Suppress happens when we're told to stop crying, go to your room. I don't want to see that face. That's teaching us first. Yeah. I need to brush it out. Second, my feelings are going to make me unsafe, unaccepted, or unloved. The second way is to escape. Once we have enough discomfort, negative emotions built up, then there's going to be a lot of negative self-talk, such as, why did you do it yesterday? It was horrible. Oh, look at the bills you have to pay. Yeah. I bet so-and-so is judging you now. Or
it's
you're
like you have the sort of programming that's been done upon us, and then the programming that we've done to ourselves.
Absolutely. What happens is that we don't want to live like that because we love ourselves, we love life. So we escape into activities that we can have some temporary sense of control or numbed out. For example, people escape into drinking, escape into drugs, sex, excessive shopping, just never be alone. You know that many people.
Eating. I think eating is another big one too. Yeah, there's so many vices to just, like you said, that this is going to quiet my mind for the 5 minutes that it can.
Yes, but the human society puts so much judgment and harshness on those activities, but within it's actually really innocent. It's because, this person who was doing drugs did not know a better way at that time. Mm-hmm. Of course, it does not have a healthy outcome. Right. And the third way is to express in a dumping way, lashing out. Two things happen when people express. First, the negative energy gets bigger. The second is that it leaves the other person with no choices but to brush it on, suppress it, or escape from it, or express back. So two people both expressing, lashing out, has broke more relationships than anything else. There's one outcome by human beings do all three. We have one main way at different stages of life, is that we became a reservoir of negative emotions. Of course, there's positive ones too. We became a reservoir of negative frequency. And they have different frequency within those different negative emotions. And we can become triggered easily. We cannot have peace. Our relationships suffer because 80% of how successful we are depends on relationships, not the capability, not the intelligence, not how hardworking you are. 80% of success laid on relationships. The people who got fired, 80% of them is not because they're not capable, it's because they cannot handle relationships well. And worst of all is that when that's there, it can block your manifestation, the good, purposeful manifestation, or even worse, can make people manifest unwanted experiences and people into their life, such as losing money, job, being betrayed in any kind of relationship. The answer to that is so simple, is to release, feel, process those negative emotions. Now, simple does not mean it's easy.
Yeah. And when you said that, I quickly thought to myself, well, I kind of get the how, but like, where do we do this? Do we do this in the moment? Because like you said, if you're doing it in the moment, back to your example of when there's two people together and the one person is lashing out and you lash out back, is that like, when's the time to do that?
Well, that's a great question. I'm so happy you asked that. I'm learning that too, actually. When do you do that?
Mhm.
Is whenever you can.
Mm.
You push yourself. Because the healing journey, well, there's yin and yang in everything, right? We have a worldly life, we have a spiritual life. It's all in one, it's one big pie, one yin and yang, but we are constantly swimming in between.
Mm.
For example, you and I, we don't have a full-time job, but there are plenty of people out there who do have jobs, right? Let's say if somebody go to work and has a really confrontational situation with the worker, with another coworker, and she could feel like overwhelmed, all the negative emotion being triggered, even feel like having an anxiety attack. In that moment, if she can have the space, have the freedom, it's appropriate to the work environment, her boss, is okay with it, then she can find a space, maybe take a walk, go to the car, meditate, right? Hold the space for herself and do it. If in the moment it's not appropriate, then it's okay temporarily to gently like push it on the side and get through the worldly life, the young part of life first, and then find time to process it. When is really it's really different, unique for every person. Me personally, I have a meditation time and I walk. My personal favorite way of processing negative emotions from the past or yesterday is to take a walk in nature. I always start with, this is from Dr. Joe Disciplines, very powerful. I always start with I believe in myself. I am grateful for what I have. And then from Louis Hay's teaching of telling myself all is well in the universe, all life loves and supports me, everything happens in my life is for my highest good. So that sets up the frequency of your own energetic field, which allows you to process, because processing negative emotion is very different from having anxiety attack and being overwhelmed, being overpowered by that state. So it's a very different state. And then you take a walk, and then you walk in nature, and then by breathing, bring your breathing, and then out, just simply allow the feeling to be felt. Now, in order to do that, a lot of us have to make some belief shifts, such as believing in that, for example, some people growing up might believe that they deserve to be punished. Well, that needs to be surrendered. Or some people have this upbringing that anger is not allowed. In this family, we don't do anger. Guess what? Are you a human being? If you are, right? That's part of human life. So I actually had a client grew up in that family, and then it has been a journey for him to allow the anger to come out, right? And one day he was driving, and then the driver behind him keep like honking on him for no reason. He was driving like normally. He's a good driver. And then there was this moment. He put his hand out of the window and he did this middle finger gesture. I don't recommend it, right?
You're right. You never know what you're going to trigger in someone else.
It's unique for everyone. So in his situation is that anger is not allowed. And then after he did that, he gave me a call. He said, look, guess what I did? I'm like, well, good for you. Now anger is allowed, right? Well, that's not suitable for another person who grew up in anger. So the general principle is that we cannot release or let go of what we judge, what we resist, what we condemn. So that belief shift is a must for opening the space for releasing. And another thing that helps me a lot, now I'm going to go a little deeper, is to ask for my guardian angel and other angels and spirit guides for help. What I do, part of my work is that I connect with people's spirit guides and guardian angels to help my clients to find answers, clarity, healing, prosperity, anything that they need, right? Get unstuck. Everyone, I get asked this. Some people ask me, do I even have guardian angels? And underneath that is, am I worthy? Like, does God love me enough to give me an angel? Well, God loves everyone equally. Everyone has one guardian angel that's been with you from the beginning and will be with you every time when you exit this physical body, and will be with you in your next reincarnation, will be with you until the end of your reincarnation. And your guardian angel is with you all the time. There is no separation. Mm-hmm. And there are different angels around you with different tasks. They help you with different things in life. And there are spirit guides. Spirit guides are the human souls who have reached enlightenment, and they don't reincarnate anymore. And they're here to assist you, to help you with their own wisdom that they gathered by walking on the human path as well. So their messages, their helps are tremendously valuable. Ask them for help. They always do.
So it kind of sounds to me like if you're getting angry, there are times when you can release it right away. And I kind of related to what you said when you said about driving in a car. Because if I think about it, if somebody is, being a jerk behind me or whatever, and I'm just, to myself, not, doing any gestures or whatnot, but I kind of forget about it then. It's like, okay, done, over with, and it doesn't come back into, my world again, so to say. But then at the end of the day, it's almost like go kind of through that review, and whether we know the underlying emotions that are triggering why we're mad in the first place. It almost sounds like from what you're saying, it's that we were judging something that is within us, which is, I think that's so great, because now we're not only releasing it from us, we're sort of releasing it in general. And the other thing I wanted to say was that it's interesting, because back to your story about, you said that your parents were always fighting about money, and then you kind of brought that into another thing, and you think, okay, well, they're always fighting about money, so now I have money, so why, you know what I mean? And I think it goes to what you're doing, is that it wasn't really the money. Yes, the money was a catalyst for it, but there were so many things on underlying that were out of sorts, that weren't handled, that were, stuck, so to say, that money was just the trigger to start the argument. So money wasn't really the cause. So it almost sounds like with your work, you're getting to the root cause of these things, because I think we have so much surface stuff. going on that if you ask anybody just randomly, well, what bothers you? Well, they could probably rattle off a bunch of things. But even underneath those, there's some underlying thing that we're not getting to that's in our subconscious or in that deep programming that we all kind of have. I mean, we do it to ourselves and we get it from, as you said, growing up, from our family, from school, from work, name the environment. You're probably getting something from that. So it's interesting that that really isn't the root cause necessarily. So what you're really doing is getting to the root cause to clear the issue so that even if money isn't the real issue, then all those underlying things that are being triggered by that, you're kind of like clearing the whole deal. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense because the money issue beneath it is fear, right? Fear of different kind of fear of homeless, fear of poverty, different kind of fear.
And fear of success, I feel too. I think there's a lot of fear of success. What are people going to think of me being successful? What am I going to think of being successful? Like, will I stay? You know what I mean? There's so many things, not just even around lack of money, but an abundance of money. I think a lot of us have fear about because we've been taught, programmed, I would say, from a very young age, from even cartoons and children's shows to adult shows that, the people in the movie, in the series that have money are typically not the good people. So we're subconsciously programmed that, having money is bad. Struggle is good. And I don't think that I don't know about, like, I think we all used to believe this. I kind of think, and I know I'm going on a little bit of a rant, that I think collectively as a human consciousness collective, we're all, I feel, healing from this Stockholm syndrome kind of fight or flight mode. Like being in fight or flight is addicting because we don't know anything else. So, okay, this is our thing. Then we know we got to argue about it. I have lack. Does that make sense? Well, I have lack and I'm programmed to have lack. Well, now I'm in this constant perpetual state of fight or flight. Well, now I got to get back into lack now that I've got a bit of prosperity or illness. Well, now I got to get back into illness because now I'm free of that illness. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that
was a lot.
No, I get it. I get it. I'm gonna do my best. I think healing is on the level of body, mind, and spirit, right? On the surface level, on the worldly level, can you feel, not you, can people feel peaceful and loving and giving when the body is not healthy?
Right. Or if you've been programmed with these thoughts that, well, when's the shoe going to drop? And I hear it so often. Yeah, like when's that shoe going to drop? When am I not going to? So it's like you're already anticipating what you just said, this, or this bad thing.
Our mind believes that in order to heal or in order to advance, in order to be happy and peaceful, we got to work on the body, have a healthy body, healthy mind, and then go to spiritual, right? Mm-hmm. It's actually the other way around. Have you heard or know people around you who was diagnosed with cancer, which is a heavily unwanted life experience, but then they end up having a huge breakthrough and become the most peaceful and happy person that you know, and then their cancer disappears? You have heard stories,
absolutely,
real stories, right? So it's actually the other way around. Spiritual healing equals energy healing comes first, because most people, they believe that I'm thinking of this fearful thought. I'm thinking that, I might get fired. I don't have money to pay the bill of this month. And that's why I am feeling fearful. And that's why those experiences compounded. That's why it's lowering my immune system. That's why my body is sick, right? Thoughts is created from emotions. Emotional, like you can see like an energy field. Fear within a
Yeah.
certain person, of itself is an energetic field.
Yeah, and you can feel it. You can feel it when you walk into a room or you're around a fear. Yeah, it's like a cloak almost. Like a
Yeah,
heavy
so
cloak.
if you have time that you walk into the room, you'd have no idea what was happening a second ago before you walk in. But the moment you walk in without saying anything, you knew they're fighting.
Yeah.
You picked on the frequency, the energy, right? So thoughts do not create emotions or frequency or energy. It is within the energetic field of fear, of anger, of shame, of guilt that fearful thoughts, angry thoughts were created. If some person's, let's say, main flavor of suffering is fear, then you just give it a try. If somebody texts her or him, say, I need to talk to you. Let's talk at 2. So let's say that's 9. From 9 to 2, I bet you this person will be suffering. How do I know? Because that's me. All the fearful thoughts has been created from that one text message.
Yeah, all
That's
the stories that you're going to say in your head of like scenarios that haven't yet played out. Yeah, yeah.
all generated from that fear frequency.
Mm-hmm.
It's those thoughts that come back and confirm the frequency, but they did not create that fear frequency, that energy. So the most powerful, profound, efficient, and safe way to heal that's long lasting is to release that fear energy.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like you allow divine love to come in and gently and sweetly take away those dark clouds.
Mm-hmm.
Like a limiting belief, I'm not good enough. I am not safe when other people judge me. You just let it go bit by bit, following divine plan.
So
And to
when
make
that
sure,
text message comes in, you're more in the state of, wow, I wonder what kind of news they have. Like, this must be good. So you're not jumping. Is that how I'm understanding that? So you're not jumping to this, oh God, what did I do? Instead, you're like, wow, this will be interesting. This could be fun. So just
yeah,
switching the story in your head to a less fear, to no fear of more of excitement or joy.
yeah. Because along the healing journey, what's going to happen is that now that's spiritual, right? And the mental level is really important as well, because if we don't work on the mental level, we can recreate fearful frequency and anger frequency, right? The mental level is how we change our beliefs, our whole system. Like, imagine when a person was initially born and this person is a brand new laptop,
Right.
no app, no apps, no software programming, right? And then when she was growing up, oh, I'm beautiful, I'm not beautiful, I'm not worthy, I'm safe this way, I'm safe that way. People are like this, love is this, money is this. So those programming is making us generating meanings from life events. We don't suffer from life events. Like, for example, if 2 people get into a fight, like a physical fight, the suffering ends when the physical fight ends. Doesn't matter who win or who lose. But one person can continue to suffer from that physical fight because they're suffering from the meaning, the story they're generating from that, right?
Yeah.
So the power in working on the mental level is to gradually and slowly change how you see life experiences, how you see yourself, how you see God, how you see the world, how you see other people, how you see money. Like, if somebody growing up has feeling inferior to money, I feel embarrassed when I have to negotiate, when I have to ask people to pay me, to buy services from me, to buy products from me, right? So it's really necessary for them to release any negative energy frequency that's associated with the limiting belief of I am inferior to money. So that's on the mental level. Change your beliefs about yourself. And then when you do both, the physical healing is a side effect of that. Is an outcome of that.
Whereas a lot of people are trying to go right at the physical, right? So like meaning that if I want to lose weight, just because it's an easy one, I think that people will relate to. If I want to lose weight, I'm going to change my diet. But if I still have the thoughts in my head and I don't have that connection that, God, source, the universe, that's the desire is for us to be fit and healthy and, free. So when we clear that or repair that relationship, then our thoughts change. And then it's like we don't even have to do the diet and the other things. It just naturally comes off, just like, as you said, something cancerous can dissolve.
That's brilliant. There has been a study done. There's two groups of bunnies. The researchers were feeding both groups of bunnies high cholesterol food, very high. And one group of bunnies started to develop symptoms, problems, challenges on the physical level. But the other group of bunnies were just healthy, just like they're eating a normal diet. The only difference were done is that when this other group, when they were fed those foods, high cholesterol food, they were pat, stroked lovingly, they were kissed. So that's the power of the energy. That's the power of the spiritual, because everything came from this frequency, right? So that's one end of it. Another end of it is that everything is an expression of within, right? Is a manifestation, everything. So if for some people they already have the expressed symptoms, then yeah, they do need to deal with it on the physical level, because it's already a physical 3-dimensional problem. Then you need 3-dimensional solution. Yeah.
So do you say at the root, what do you feel is the root of all this as like a human collective, a human consciousness? As I kind of said in the beginning, is I do think we're all trying to release from some kind of trauma that's either been passed down generationally, things that we've experienced. And I know, like, I think a fetus in the womb could even experience trauma if that pregnant mother is in an unhealthy environment. I'm curious as to your thoughts, because it seems that more and more people are talking about trauma and how trauma has kind of gotten the world into the state it is. But I see it lifting, and I feel it lifting in myself, and I feel it lifting in other people that I'm around and that I talk to. And in general, just with what's, popular, like all you have to do is look around and see just different things that are gaining momentum.
In my practice, 100% of my clients who are open to energy releasing, there are some only do life coaching with me, which is perfectly fine. So the clients who are open to energy releasing, 100% of them, by using muscle testing, kinesiology, I have cleared generational trauma from them. And also, I won't call it trauma, like a negative emotion, negative energy field from them. And also, for many of them, there are some negative energy from when they were in their mother's womb. Because you're so connected with the mother when you were there. And I want to add this, that in healing trauma, it's quite different from healing like, moments of being angry or sadness. There is a certain aspect of trauma, which I wish more people would talk about, is this aspect of, first, how complex it is. Because within one traumatic event, most of the cases created a lot of negative emotions. And those negative emotions are all intertwined with each other. Because I'm angry, I'm also resentful towards this person, and I'm ashamed of what had happened to me. I also feel guilty that I was not brave enough or resource enough to protect myself. And I also feel embarrassed. I also feel hopeless. And I'm also desperate. What if it will happen again? And that negative emotions are intertwined with one another. And it always comes with negative beliefs, limiting beliefs about me, about the world. Like, for example, my own experience from that teacher. My belief was that uh, if the authority figure, which was the teacher, don't accept me, then nobody will.
Mm. Let me see if you can pick up how you would have received that.
That's the survival instinct, right? I have to generate a pattern, a reason, a meaning from this, a belief from this, to make sure that it won't happen to me again. Everybody has that. It's
almost like a protective armor.
Yes.
Which is only protective for so long until it's now hindering us.
Exactly. So after that happened, I became really resentful towards the whole situation. And then the whole following like 6-7 years, I never had a good relationship with the authority figure. I always assumed that they're there to get me, that they're going to hurt me, they're going to bully me, they're going to abuse their power. Does that hinder me or help me?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Of course, it would hinder me. So that's the first aspect of trauma. It's very complex with different intertwined energetic frequency. And it can leave us get triggered easily. And when it's triggered, the response was immediate and overwhelming. And we will feel like we don't have control in how we feel, how we respond to it. We like lash out or, come out and defend ourselves like a chihuahua. We just like expand so much bigger and yell louder, that's how on a personal level how it's a trauma versus, this past experience, I just need healing. I just need more self-love. So trauma, the personal response will be like that. The second perspective is that there is always a shock. In order for it to be traumatic, there's always a shocking aspect to it. Like you were not expecting it. You were not prepared for it.
I never actually thought of it that way. Yeah.
And a lot of practices really, as far as I have observed, have not done enough, at least, to releasing the shock aspect of it, because it is the shock. People form the belief that I'm not safe. I have to be on guard all the time.
I've never heard anybody talk about that, but I do emotion code, and I've been trained. I trained with Dr. Bradley Nelson, and one of the things on the list is shock. And when I would do emotion code on myself, it would come up quite often. And I think I'm really listening to you, just understanding exactly what that shock is. Because, most trauma, it's almost like shock and trauma kind of go hand in hand, because if it wasn't shocking, then it kind of wouldn't be trauma. It would be something that's expected. That's so interesting, the way that you just put that. It makes so much sense, because so many things are, oftentimes when somebody just says something horrible to you that you're not expecting, you're just like, you're almost step back and you can't even respond sometimes, because that shock has almost put you in in motion of paralysis, and your body just shuts down and your mind shuts down. You're like, because I've often done that when something has happened, and then you're like, well, if I was there again, I should have said that, where the I should have come in, and you're like, I should have said this, I should have done this, that.
Well, when in shock, what first shut down is our meridian system, our energy pumping system.
That makes so much sense.
It will like shut down just to the minimum energy
Yeah.
that's keep us alive.
Yeah. Breathing and yeah.
Yeah, it's like minimum. The meridian system immediately shut down first. And then it's like your soul, your frequency, your energetic field will need time to gradually put this energy to where they can fit it, like where it belongs, where it should go, or where it can cause the least amount of harm to the
Yeah.
soul, to the energetic
And if we
body.
don't do that, then it gets stuck, just like, a kink in a hose or like a blockage in a hose or something like that. Then it stays stuck if we don't do anything about it.
Yeah, it's a protective mechanism. It starts in the energetic body first, and then to the mind, and then the body. So
It's
it's
almost like
that.
what you said earlier. The way to heal it, you start from the spiritual, and it's almost like the way that it got there in the first place almost seems like, is it like reverse or the same? Like, does it become physical at first and then it becomes spiritual in our thoughts and stuff? So it's almost like we reverse engineer, like the process to release it is almost reverse engineering how it got there. Am I even making sense?
Could you say that again?
So if we experience a trauma, it's almost a shell shock to the system.
Yes.
And then it kind of gets, so it's a physical response first, and then it becomes a mental response, and then it kind of gets woven into our subconscious. So it's almost the reverse of how to release it. So now that we start from this spiritual level, and then it comes into our mind, and then it expresses in the physical. Whereas when it initially happens, it happens in the opposite direction. Maybe I'm just reading too much into that.
Oh, it's perfect. I love how you process things. You're brilliant. The way I see it is that it's the order is not an order of linear time,
Mhm.
is an order of intention.
But yeah,
Intention,
so it doesn't even matter.
because it actually most of the time happens simultaneously.
Yeah,
Because you need some kind of a mental breakthrough to open up the energetic portal to allow to let go of the resistance, let go of the judgment, condemnation, to allow the past wounds to be healed, to flush the negativity out, right?
right.
And the healing of the body, at least on the chemistry level, is happening simultaneously as well. Like you have moments that you're meditating and you're one with God, right? Like the
Yeah,
serotonin is going on your system and the health benefit, like
yeah. You don't even feel like you're anything.
yeah.
No, that it makes so much sense. So when we're talking about these same scenarios, when these things are happening to us, where do our like guardian angels, our angels and our spirit guides, how do they come in? Are we just like, are we completely disconnected from that when it happens? Does that make sense? So it's like we understand that they're here to help us when we're seeking the healing. We're seeing you, we're doing our meditation, we're doing these things. But at the moment that happens, have we shut down that spiritual side of us so that it's like they're not even being let in to assist, that it's forming in the first place? You know what I mean? Like the trauma is being set in. I guess the crude way of saying is that, well, where are my spirit guides when all this bad stuff is happening to me that I can't deal with it?
I hear you. I hear you. I get those questions in the past too. So here are some common answers that I have received from the spirit, from the divine dimension. So to distinguish, not to you, I know you understand everything that I'm going to share, but just for your audience, channeling is nothing like a psychic, like a fortune telling.
Right.
It's very different. The message that came from the divine dimension can fall to two categories. The first category is to help us to be in peace with past events, meaning to heal. The second category is to help us claim the power as a creator. I am God. That create that power that can create anything. Help us to claim that power to create our future and to live a life fulfilled, because that's the God's desire or God's design for everyone is to live a fulfilled life, right?
Yes.
Doing those two things, we get to live in the present, because that's the ultimate gift, is to live in the present, live in now, because now is the only reality.
Yeah.
So with that being said, when the moments when traumatic events happens in people's life, from my channeling experience, it's quite unique for everyone. There were situations that they will do their very best to prevent it. Beforehand, they're going to make the light flicker. They're going to whisper to your ears. They're going to give you, if it's a warning, right? They're going to give you a heaviness on your chest. They're going to press on your shoulders. They're going to make something happen in the house, like something fall. And it's like the signal goes like stronger and stronger. But humans live in a human body focused on, I have to get here. I have to get here. I have to do that. I have to call him. This meeting has to happen, right? Or it's late at night, but you know what? He asked me out. I have to go. Otherwise, nobody else will love me, right? Not to blame, but I've been all those places, so I know how it felt.
Yeah, I'm sure all of us can relate.
We just ignored. We can't hear. Our frequency is not there. It's all a frequency match, right? We're vibrating here. They're way up above there. They're like about enlightenment. Yeah. So that's one scenario. Another scenario that they had to step on the sideline, hold this energetic space for us, and just hold the space. Meaning, either we're undoing our negative karma. We, as human beings, karma is a common understanding in Eastern world. The Western world more so nowadays that I pay attention to. Karma is not a punishment. Karma is a divine gift, because karma is not, you did wrong, then you're being punished. Karma is like, you get another life, you get another chance to feel how it feels like to be done this too. So you learn yourself lesson, and then you won't do it again, right? There are times that they hold the space for us when we're undoing karma. Or sometimes, and we had to go through that to come out of it, to teach other people, to share, to gain wisdom, to become who we are destined to become by going through those paths, those life events. So it's different.
How do you feel on the topic of karma? A lot of things that I read and hear, just listening to various people and talking to various people, is that, we're coming into this time, this age of Aquarius, where we're really just releasing karma and like we're kind of dropping it. Do you think we're in the middle of that? Where do you think we are with that? That we're sort of like, we're all releasing our common, new souls that are coming in, new babies, they're not coming in with karma.
Well, I'm gonna use Dr. David Hawkins's teaching
Okay.
because I don't have the answer for that. I can only share in this scenario because I have never asked that. I have never contemplated on that.
Yeah, it's like been in things that I've heard, and I've heard it more recently, and I'm not sure where my take on it is. So that's why I just like to ask other people, like, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, you know, Dr. Hawkins created this map of human consciousness, right? He
Mm-hmm.
calculated everything in the universe. One is a bacteria to 1,000, and it's logarithmic by the power of 10. So even 1 point in advancement is a huge deal.
Mm.
And 1,000 is the Lord Jesus Christ, Buddha, and Krishna,
Mm-hmm.
the highest frequency in human world, right? Hitler calibrated 40 or 45. Mother Teresa calibrated at 710. And most human beings are in between. But that's not, we're equal too. It's like see human beings as this huge, massive building.
Mm.
We're not going to say a brick on the bottom is less valuable of a brick with the one that's at top, that we're equal. But we're not aligned with the same spiritual intention. We're not aligned with the same, energetic power, frequency, right? And he mentioned that the critical level, one of the critical levels is the level of 200, which is courage. Below 200 is life draining. Somebody needs to consume something to get something from other people, the world. And above 200 is life giving. Mm-hmm. And this 200 is called courage. And he also taught that it's also integrity. It's like somebody has drinking problem. The moment when he says, you know what, I'm powerless when you put alcohol in front of me. That's the point when he crossed from below 200 to equal or above. So this is what he said. He said human beings crossed that point, guess when? 1980s.
Wow.
You look how long the human history has been. Mm-hmm. It's pretty recent, right?
Yeah.
Like human beings as a whole in general, because we have a whole, we have the overall frequency. I think last time I heard his lecture, but that was like at least 12 years ago. We calibrated at 204, which is above
the 200.
So from that teaching,
it's almost like scientific proof that our consciousness is raising, that our frequency is rising, our vibration is rising as a collective.
Absolutely. You see his chart of the human overall calibration. It's kind of like if you see the stock of US from the past 30 or 50 years, right? You can see it goes up and down if you put it on a daily chart. But if you put it on the decades chart, in this case, in terms of human history, it's always going up.
Yeah.
So me personally, I'm very, very optimistic, very hopeful. I'm on the team.
Well.
Right. And then so from that perspective, right, I feel like there's truth to that. Because after we cross as a whole, cross the level of integrity, then it opens up way more possibility and energetic field for us to, as a whole, to release or undo negative karma.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah. And I've heard of that chart. I actually wasn't aware of where we were at on it as a collective, but that's good news. I mean, that is good news. It means that people are waking up. And I mean, I think anybody who's maybe even in their 20s and 30s and older can see, because, you have decades to kind of compare it to. And I can see that we're different. And while some people say we're for the worse off, I really do think on a collective level that we are for the better right now. Not that there hasn't been bumps, but I think as a collective, we are moving in the right direction. And whether there's these timeline splits or all these other things that we won't even get into, it's you are where you're at, I guess. and it's up to you. And I'm a big believer in two things. Number one is personal responsibility, and number two, if you see something that you really feel like is going to change, and you're like, oh my gosh, the world is falling apart, and da 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 da, da and all this stuff, it's like, well, I'm not one to go out with a picket sign. I'm one to do the individual work, because I know that in that ripple of that individual work I'm going to do to heal my trauma, to become a better person, to, control myself and all these things, and to do that self-reflective work, that shadow work, and all those other things, that is going to ripple out in such magnitude that standing outside with the picket sign can never do.
I love it. I love your perspective. I love what you're doing. It's highly integrous and spiritual. And I have very similar beliefs. I believe that this spiritual journey is an internal journey.
Yes.
Like, I don't mean to be judged for mean, but it's just from an observing and learning perspective. Have you ever seen people who go to spiritual fairs and listen to audios and read books, and then they end up judging people around them for being judging or angry? So it's like,
or for not being spiritual,
for being judgmental, right? It's more like, go within, just work on myself. When I'm asked, when the divinity, or or we call the universe, God, whatever we call it, the higher power, give me this honor to serve another person, then I would do my very best. I open my heart completely to Father, to God, and then serve, just pour out whatever came through me to this person. Outside of that space, I respect every person's journey. I'm not perfect. There are times that I'm like, oh, too much. But other than that, right, I catch myself. But other than that, I respect everyone's journey. Like you said earlier, they're brand new babies, who reincarnated as human, right? And they're learning, they're different. Maybe they come more advanced, who knows? But it's like, it's an internal thing. It's internal with myself and God.
And I think when you said before, when we work from the spiritual down to the physical, that physical manifestation isn't just us, it's the things around us. We're going to attract more people, and more people are going to be attracted into kind of doing their own journey and their own healing as well. So I think that physical part is so important. And that's the part that I think that spreads, that's the part that spreads the message, right?
Yes.
And that physical manifestation is literally a physical manifestation of not just our own physicalness, but the physical world, and that includes the people around us.
Absolutely. If I could have permission from you, Michelle, I want to conclude this with one expression. I pray I do a good job. Why is spiritual healing or energy healing so profound and powerful? Because the end goal is not to gain anything. Because we always exit this world like with nothing in the physical form. We take away our emotions, memories, beliefs, that all resides in our soul as energetic information, right? So that's where we will end at. But along the human journey, you cannot say that relationships don't matter, money doesn't matter. You have a body. Your body needs a house. If you choose to be a parent, you need to feed them. They need education. So yes, you do need to have a good relationship with other people. You do need to have a good relationship with money. You do need to have a good relationship with the world, right? And all that physical form stuff, whatever you desire, came from your inner world. That's the base law of manifestation. Everybody knows, right?
We are creators.
We're creators. but we don't create what we desire. It's like this crying baby, right? I don't have this. That's come out of lack. We create what we believe we are. Like I am, whatever follows I am is what we create, right? Say, use my own story as an example. In the past, I believed I am not safe. I am unworthy. And I believed other people are, which I'm projecting other God created, beings, right? Other people are crude. I don't have the power to create financial prosperity. All those beliefs will manifest as our reality unless it's being counterbalanced by positive thinking, by higher frequency. And so we need to surrender those beliefs and change them, right? But the beliefs we're charged by emotions. You can see a belief that other people are mean. Behind it is a lot of hatred and anger, aggression, right? So if anyone wants to change the belief without taking off the battery in the back burner, it's kind of like me go dancing class after I ate 4 donuts and try to suck my belly in, right? It's a pretending game. It's not happening, right? So in order for you to release all those emotions, you need to change your relationship with yourself, how you see yourself. And then that opens up everything. End of the day, the only thing that matters is your relationship with yourself, which equals to your relationship with God. And then once this gets to be released, untangled, everything else works out.
Starting at the top.
Not a smooth ride all the way, right? There's going to be ups and downs, up and downs. But you only need to figure this one thing out, really, because everything in life is mechanical. Mm-hmm. All we have to deal with are emotions. A divorce, it's mechanical. Do I hire a lawyer? How to separate the assets or the debt, custody, right? Losing a job, it's mechanical. And another one. Paying bills, mechanical. The only thing we ever need to deal with is emotions. And once we get this done, everything else will be smooth.
I love that. Well, oh my gosh. How do people work with you? How do they get to work with you? Give us your information. So, I know a lot of people are looking for this. So I want people to know how to connect with you and how to work with you.
Yeah, it's very simple. Simply go to my website, www.coacholiviagong.com. I hope we can put it up.
All of that information will absolutely, no matter what platform you're listening or watching this on, that information will be in the description.
Yeah, or email me at info@coacholivia.com. If you want to hear what other people say about my services, you could Google me at Coach Olivia Gong, and you will find some other people's reviews, their stories for working with me.
Oh my gosh. This has been an amazing talk. I appreciate all of your wisdom and your own life experiences that you have shared with all of us today. And thank you for putting up with some of my questions and thoughts and insights as you're speaking. I really, truly appreciate you being here. And I have very much enjoyed this conversation.
Me too. I truly love your questions. You're very insightful. I really appreciate you giving me this opportunity.
Absolutely. It has been my pleasure to have you on. And again, all of Olivia's information will be in the description. And I thank everybody for watching and joining. And until next time, I am Michelle Blaze with The Wealth Within Us. Right now, you can begin aging gracefully, full of energy, vitality, and overall wellness. But as time goes by, our bodies can start to show signs of aging. Until now, introducing LifeWave X39, the world's first product that activates our own cells. This breakthrough in regenerative science helps restore our bodies to a healthier, more youthful state. X39 uses patented phototherapy to elevate a copper peptide that signals cellular activation. Think of it as your internal repair system, generating younger, healthier cells that can rejuvenate your tissues and organs. Just one X39 patch applied daily is all it takes. Safe, non-invasive, and backed by clinical studies, this is your chance to regain control over your vitality. Don't miss out on the future of anti-aging. Experience the power of X39 today. Visit patchedlight.com and start living younger now.